Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, wassalam ala Rasulil Kareem wa ala ahlihi wa azwajihi wa zuriyatihi wa ashabihi wa man tabi'ahum ila yawmiddin. Amma ba'd. And what follows after that, we continue where we left off, where Allah remind the Prophet, revealed to the Prophet that Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that he should not follow a type of man, a specific type of man, and we come to know who this man is. That he's despicable, he's oath-mongering, he's given to frequent swearing by falsehood. And then Allah says, Mana'il lil khair, mu'tadin athim, that this man is a mana'. He hinders people or he hinders good things. So he's the hinderer of good things. The mu'tadin, right? The one who is stingy, athim, and sinful, wrongdoer. Okay, so Allah is laying out the character of a particular individual during the time of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu, and we'll know more about him as we go along. Now, Imam Allama Sawi, who we used to help us understand Jalalain, he said from ayah 10 to 16 is a description of a particular person called Al-Walid ibn al-Mughira. Al-Walid ibn al-Mughira, who was one of the chiefs of Quraysh, and he was a very rich man. Arrogant. And all the commentators agree that in a unanimous decision that this is who Allah is speaking about, Walid al-Mughira. So they agree on this, that it was revealed regarding him. But some said that it was about Asad, the Abd Yahuth, another prominent figure among the Quraysh, another prominent figure who opposed Islam. Others say that it was Akhnas ibn Shariq, and others say Abu Jahl bin Hisham. We know Abu Jahl from Tabat Yada Abi Lahab. He's also called Abi Lahab, and is also known as the Pharaoh of the Arabs. So these are the characters who were in full flight opposition to the message of Islam, and they were wealthy, they were affluential people. They had a lot of wealth, a lot of resources, a lot of children. They had big families. They had large stocks of animals. You know, they were the big boys, you know, of among the Arabs. And all of them, every single one of them, they were in opposition to Islam. Now, and Sawi said, when Allah says, Mana'in, someone who prevents or hinders, lil khair, hinders the good. He said that this also means that he hinder good things even coming to himself. Because if he had followed Islam and accepted the message of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he will have gained good in this world and in the next world. But he hindered himself from benefiting from the blessings of Islam. And on top of that, he hindered others from the good. So he hindered himself from being a better person because of the revelation of the Quran, and he also hindered other people, other Muslims, who were weak in the society, and he oppressed them. Now, also, Sawi said that al-khair also refers to the wealth that is due to the poor. Okay, so he hinder the pain or the giving over in charity or in zakat to the the poor in society, because in Islam wealth has a hak on it. It has a right, the right of the poor. So what he's saying, although he wasn't a Muslim, but nobody benefited, the poor did not benefit from his wealth. Okay, the poor did not benefit from his wealth. So in no way, he did not give charity, nor did he pay any poor due tax. He didn't, anyone poor, no benefit from him. That's why Allah said he hindered the good. Okay, from the good is also the wealth. And Jalalain said that he's also what? A theme. A theme is somebody who's excessively wicked. And Jalalain said that he is zalim, an oppressor, a wicked person. And because he went beyond the boundaries in his opposition to the truth. So he's called a transgressor, and his transgression was preventing the dawah of Islam in early Quraysh society during the time when the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam lived in Mecca. So Athim also refers to someone who is crude, okay, and in his character, and somebody who is corpulent, like the fat. He looked like a wicked fat man. Okay, so he was crude in his body and in his character, how he looked. They call it a buffoon. This is what they call it, a buffoon. That he had this crude way about him, and his heart was hard, and he called people to disbelief and to dislike things that that they were being called to by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about him. So so Allah is painting a picture, of this man, and it is not a nice picture. Also, in Surah Ayah 13, Allah says he's utul, ba'da dhalika, zanim. He is utul, crude, as I said, ignoble in birth, which means he was born out of wedlock. He was not honorable in society, although he considered himself honorable. Okay, but he was a zanim, somebody who claimed someone to be his father, but who was not his father. Okay, but he didn't know that. But Allah knew, so Allah called him a zanim. Okay, Allah called him a zanim. And it means that his birth, because the Arab had this thing about nobility in birth, which means that their mother were married to their father, and she did not commit adultery or give their their fathers the child that belongs to someone else. So even though the Arabs at the time were disbelievers, they had some level of morality about them. When we say Jahil, it's not an absolute thing that everybody was just wicked and bad. It had some wicked individuals, and they had a lot of good qualities, but they also had a lot of bad qualities. Okay, so when we say the time of Jahiliyyah, we mean that they had lost the understanding of the Tawheed, and they had went astray from the revelation of Allah. It doesn't mean that they didn't know anything, that they were stupid. Okay, yes, they buried the dead, they buried their girl children in the sand, but not all of them. Okay, but it was done in the society. It wasn't a widespread thing, but some of them did it. Okay, so we mustn't think in absolutes, right? It is called Jahili for the main reason that they had lost the Tawheed, and they went astray from the Melatul Ibrahim, the way of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Some of them were trying to find that way back, find their way back to the truth. And these people were called Hunafa, okay, who they were called Hanifa. These were people who tried to rescue what was in their culture that went back to that connected back to revelation. And all cultures is like that. At some point in time, Allah gave each people, each nation, each tribe revelations. People went to them, but after some time, people forgot. After some time, the fathers went astray, or after some time, they were misguided to worship idols. But there are always elements, even in Hinduism, there's elements of Tawheed. Even in Christianity, there's elements of Tawheed. In African ancestral religion and all these things, in Shintoism, every single culture, there is some evidence that the presence of one God, the presence of high morality, the presence of divine culture. But after a time, it was muddled. It got lost. Okay, it got lost in the passage of time, in the forgetfulness of people, in people introducing idol worship, or people introducing negative things within the society for whatever various reasons. Okay, but a lot of the reasons was in order to have more control over the other people in the tribe, especially if you have a ruling elite. Okay, they most time develop some sort of culture or some sort of activity that grips the people and keep them in check. And one of the ways of doing that was to establish a priesthood. And through the priests, they control the people. Okay, so normally they had a priesthood, and everybody was scared of the priest. Okay, because he could bring destruction on you, he could do magic on you, and it was very powerful. And even some of the kings were priests, and the priests supported the kings, who supported the priests, and who supported the particular cult that they were spreading among the people and keeping the people in check. Okay, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that this man, okay, this person he's speaking about is utul. He's crude. And after that, and after all of that, all the names Allah call him, after all those names, Allah say on top of that, okay, he is Zanim. Okay, all of that, he is Zanim. He is somebody who was born out of wedlock. And to the Arabs, to the noble Arabs, the leaders, that was like a disrespect, a negative thing against their person and character, because they valued coming from parents who did not commit any adultery. So although they will commit adultery and they will commit fornication, but they want to make sure that their children comes from two parents. Even if the child comes from outside of the marriage bond, it was looked down upon in their society. So, and so Allah says, and after all those names Allah called, you say more than that, that man is Zanim, ignoble, not of honorable birth. He was a son that was ascribed to the Quraysh, okay, to the elite of the Quraysh. Namely, his name is Al-Walid, the son of Al-Mughira. Mughira were a rich person. Okay, they had a lot of wealth for animals and children. They were a big tribe. And they said that Al-Mughira, who was the assumed father of Walid, only claimed him after 18 years after his birth. It's only 18 years after his birth that he was claimed by his father. The father had suspected something. But let us hear what Ibn Abbas has to say. Ibn Abbas said, we do not know of no one whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has described in a derogatory way, in which he describes Al-Walid, the son of Al-Mughira, the assumed son of Al-Mughira. Okay, so Ibn Abbas said that there's no way in the Quran, no other place in the Revelation, that Allah describes somebody in this most derogatory way. Because this man was 100% and more active against Islam. All right? So Allah described him in a very derogatory way. Allah blighted him with ignominy, being ignoble, no class. That to defame him, Allah defamed him. And Allah defamed him in such a way that it will never leave him. Okay? That defamation that Allah put on him, it will never, ever, ever leave him. Now the word Zanim is an old Arabic word. You can hardly find it in dictionary even. And it is an Zanim is the person, and an item is called Zanama, as Zanama. So a Zanama was a particular item. We'll explain. A Zanama is something that they put on the ears of a goat. It's like an earring that hangs, right? And when they do that, they are pointing out that this animal, okay, belongs or is attributed to this herd. Okay, so they put a ring on the goat, and that signified that this animal, it come like like a stamp or something. They put it on the animal, and it signified that that animal belongs to this herd, and that herd belongs to that person. So that is signature. That is his brand. You know, they brand cows and horses and livestock. This is what they used to do. But this one was like a sort of ring. So sometime, let's say you steal a goat and you put the ring on that goat. And people will assume that that goat belongs to you. But that goat really don't belong to you. And that is called a Zanama. Okay? A Zanama. And so when Allah called him a Zanim, Allah is saying, like, if he is attributed to be the son of Al-Mughira, but he is not the son of Mughira. So he is like a zana, a zanama, he's like a zanama, like something that they put on somebody to signify that, something they put on an animal that signify belongs to X, Y, Z person or hood. But in actuality, he is not from amongst them. It is an object. I don't know what type of object, but they say like it's like a ring that they put on the ear of the goat. Okay. Now, what is interesting about this situation is that Al-Walid was attributed to his father, okay, for 18 years. And the father did not recognize that him as being his child after 18 years. It's only after 18 years he said, okay, that's my child. Now, when this verse was revealed, you can imagine Allah telling you that your father is not your father. This is what the Quran is saying. This is basically what the Quran is saying. Your father is not, you're this and you're that, and you're on top of that, he is not the son of Mughira. So, of course, that will disturb anybody, especially the Arabs. So, Walid went to his mother and he told his mother, indeed, Muhammad, of course, he didn't say Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he didn't recognize Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu as any prophet, but we will say Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He said, indeed, Muhammad described me with certain characteristics. I am aware of them. He said that Muhammad Sallallahu described him what? As despicable, insulting, a backbiter, okay, a fault finder, a spreader of slander, okay, one who prevents good things, right? And one who hinders a transgressor, a sinner, extreme sinner, someone who is crude and coarse in his body, how he looks, and in his mannerism, and in his behavior and character, and on top of all of that, he's born out of wedlock. Okay, so he said, these things that the Prophet Islam say about me, I recognize. Okay, sorry, he said the 9 things that the Prophet said about me, I recognize 8 of them. I recognize 8 of them. I don't know about the 9th one. The 9th one is when Allah says, and on top of all of that, he is a ignoble person of birth. So here you are playing, you are this big ranker in Quraysh. You are the cream and of the Arabs. But you're ignoble because the Arabs you support a lot of emphasis on coming from both parents. Okay, currently they still put a lot of emphasis, although they were not Muslims, although they were not, they had some level of morality still. Okay, so you see, I recognize 8 of them, but you see the 9th one, I don't know about that. And if I told his mother, so if you do not tell me the truth, I will hit you on your neck, which means that he will chop off her head. So he threatened his mother. So she got scared. And she said to Al-Walid, indeed, your father was impotent. Okay, so the wife knew that the husband was not able to have children. He was impotent. He wasn't able to carry out the sexual act. Okay, so she said, I became fearful as regard inheritance. So remember, having a son for Mughira, he was a rich man. So if she had a son for him, she will have access to the wealth of Al-Mughira when he's alive, and also by inheritance when he dies, because she has a son for him. Okay, so through her son, she will have access to wealth. So she says she became scared and fearful because of the wealth, this huge amount of wealth. She was not willing to let that go, or leave her hands by not having no children. Okay, the other part of the other sections of the family might have taken most of the money. She has no husband. Obviously, her husband died, and she has no son for him. She had no, nothing is passed on to the son, and she will just be reduced to penury, to no money, poor and destitute. So she was scared. So what she did, she said, I submitted myself. I put myself in place. I submitted myself to a shepherd. So she went out in the fields and she find an anonymous shepherd. Somebody who's not well known because he a poor person. Nobody studying he's a shepherd. He maybe just coming whenever he comes to sell his animals, but most of the times he spend it out there with the animals in the fields. So he's a shepherd. And she said, it's a polite way of saying she had sex with him. So even though she was she didn't say, man, I went and so with this man. No, she said, I submitted myself to him. Or I put myself in place for him to have access to me. That is how the Arabic read. I put myself in place for him to have access to me. Right? So look how refined their how they describe. They was not given to crude talk. Boy, I so and so. We go say, right? I don't want to repeat it. It's not right. So she was not crude as her son. She had some level of character, although she was doing something very wrong. Okay, very very wrong. So she went out to an unknown shepherd, and they had sex. And she said, "You are the product of that encounter between me and the shepherd." So Al-Walid didn't know that he was Ibn Zina, the son of Zina, or the son of adultery. Zina could refer to zina is just any sex that is haram. Zina could be fornication, like sex between two married people. Zina can also be adultery, sex with by somebody who is married. Okay, it could be somebody who's married with somebody who's unmarried, or a married person with another married person. Okay, homosexual sex to lesbianism and homosexualism, also all that are considered zina. Any unlawful encounter, okay, that is haram, in terms of man and woman, and more haram. I mean, not more, but grossly haram, between man and man and woman and woman. All of that is zina. So he did not know that he was the son of adultery until this verse was revealed, and he was derided, he was defamed. He was shamed, he was degraded in his social status as a chief of noble birth among the Quraysh. Okay, and this is interesting because, those who disbelieve will say, well, perhaps Muhammad heard about it and stick it in the revelation, But the mother of Walid was surprised that such a secret came out. Okay, because the shepherd never came forward and claimed any child. Mughira doubted that was his child, but he had no evidence. So after that time, he just said that is his child. Perhaps something happened, something, I don't know. You see, maybe something, try a thing and something happened, maybe, and no, that's his child. And but the revelation exposed him. And this shows that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the knower of the unseen. Okay, Allah is the knower of the unseen. So Mughira was embarrassed. And Ibn Abbas said that no other person Allah has dealt with like that in the Quran. Let's continue ayat 14. Voila. No, let's continue. And kana dhamalin wa banin. And Allah continues speaking about him, and that this man considered himself also, of course, it was true that he was Dhamal, Udhumal, the one who had large wealth. He was, I mean, as we say in our time, filthy rich, but very rich. He owned massive wealth. In them days was gold and silver and precious stones. We talking about paper dollar. We talking about that. And he had land, property, he had, animals, he had everything, right? In that time. So that he was, according to Jalan, translated as he had a lot of wealth and he had a lot of children, because the Arab recognized having a lot of children is a sign of power. Okay, it's a sign of power. So he is saying that he is acting that way. Allah said that this man is acting all this pompous and arrogant and the type of behavior he's exhibiting is because okay, he owns wealth and he have a lot of children. Allah is saying that because he holds these two key power elements in society, this is why he was behaving like that. And this is what was preventing him from opening his heart to the truth. He was hindering his heart from the message of Islam. And he was hindering other people from the message of Islam. He needs to do all these things, wickedness, and do all these things against the poor and against the poor Muslims. And generally haughty and arrogant in society. All because why? He had some fulus. He had some money. Okay, he had wealth, and on top of that too, he had a lot of children. Either tutla alayhi ayatuna, and at 15, and when our signs, our ayats are recited to him, but the Rasul used to recite the Quran to them, and when the words of Allah are recited to him, okay, what did he do? When our signs, which is meaning that the Quran are recited to him, what did he say? Qala, he said, Asatirul Awwalin, that these are tales, these are fables, these are stories of those people that went before. Right? He totally reject them. So that is not for me. That is for those people that went before me. That is just tales of the ancient Moses and Solomon and Zulkarnain and all these things that the Quran speaks about. You say, no, that is just Asatirul Awwalin. Those are tales of the ancients. As a modern man in his time, time here with this foolishness about what happened in the past. I'm not concerned about that. So he denied these things in his arrogance. And what causes arrogance? Because Allah mentioned that Allah gave him out of Allah's ni'mah, out of Allah's beneficence. Allah gave him wealth and children, because all those things he had came from Allah. Okay, all those things he had came from Allah, but he did not use it in the right way, and he did not see it in the right way. He did not appreciate it in the right way, and he didn't realize that this was a blessing, a ni'mah. Ni'mah is like a blessing, a favor, from your Lord. Okay, and because of Allah's grace on him, he denied. It helped, instead of that grace making him humble, it made him arrogant. So sometimes wealth, when it comes to some people, it can take them off the path of Islam. It makes them more arrogant. And sometimes it makes them get into arrogance when they were not like that before. Or become arrogant, as I said, which is a better way to say it. They become arrogant out of something positive. Okay, it excited their bad character. So out of that arrogance of having things that Allah himself mentioned that he has, this man, just dismiss. Okay, ayatuna. Allah said, our ayatuna, our signs, which means the Quran. Remember, I was telling you that it's also good to use Quranic argument. You use the verses of the Quran when you're giving dawah, because Allah used those verses to touch the hearts of people. Okay, and also you can get people like Walid. You might get a Walid too when you're giving dawah. He opposes you, So but the Quran should be used as much as possible to color your words and your message when you are speaking to people. So we have all of this very elaborated descriptions, one after the other, about this man. Okay, I know Allah did not name him, but he was known. Anybody, the Sahabas knew that this was the person that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself was speaking about. So Allah made him famous until the day of judgment, because many people will be reading this Surah Al-Qalam all over this world. Right now in Ramadan, thousands and millions of communities of Jamaat will be doing Tawari prayer or just reciting the Quran. Millions of people, and they'll be mentioning this man, not by name, but by character. So Allah made him famous in a negative way until the day of judgment. Okay? I mean, and that is incredible, and it will be nice if your name is mentioned, okay, for something that is good, and people will be repeating that over and over, thousands and millions of people all over the world, all different languages, all different races, and and it will be translated in all different languages. It will be subjects of khutbahs. It will be subject of lectures. It will be the subject of studies and books and tafsir, and for good. But imagine, it is done because of your wicked and bad behavior. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has disgraced him in this way. So, ayat 15. Sanasimuhu halal khartum. Sanasimuhu halal khartum. And that we shall brand him on the snout. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, we shall brand him on the snout. Allah used the word khartum, the snout. Now the word Khartoum, before we get to that, Sanasimuhu means to brand something. You know, like how you brand animals, as we was talking about before. Allah said, we shall leave a mark, a distinguishing mark on him. Okay, Allah said he will leave a mark that distinguishes him. And where Allah put that mark? On his nose. But Allah called his nose here a snout. He didn't use the word anf. In Arabic, anf is nose. He used khartoum. Okay, he used khartoum. And this mark that Allah, we'll come to Khartoum just now, this mark that Allah left on his nose, which Allah called his snout. So Allah, in Allah's estimation, Allah consider him like a wild animal, like a beast. So Allah's given this mark in order that people will revile him. You know, people will disrespect him. You know, people he'll become talk of the tongue. People will make fun of him for as long as he lives. Allah says he's going to get a mark that is going to remain with him for as long as he lives. And the Jalalain said that during the Battle of Badr, he came as a soldier in the army of Quraysh to defend the stolen property of the Muslims that they used for trade, and the Muslims went out to recover their property. He came with the army to defend that property, which they had stolen. And during the encounter, his nose was chopped off. Okay, his nose was chopped off by a sword during the Battle of Badr. So during the fight, his nose was chopped off. Now the word Al Khartoum, you know, is the name of the capital of Sudan, Khartoum. You know, Khartoum normally is used in today's, not today's, right? So I mean, 100 years now, Khartoum is used mostly for the trunk of an elephant and the snout of a pig. Okay, that is the more regular usage of the word Khartoum. But it's also used for the snout of a wild animal, like a lion, tiger, this kind of thing, leopards, you know, dogs, you know, that snout it has. We don't call it a nose, we call it a snout. But it is generally used, you know, sometimes there's a word, but it's generally used for these two animals. Okay, but way before it was used for wild animals in general. But it has become more attached to these two particular animals. So Khartoum, most likely, so hear somebody say Khartoum, is either talking about the nose of an elephant, the trunk, we call it trunk, or the snout of a pig. Okay, the snout of a pig. It is called Khartoum because I think, remember, in that area, the Nile, there are different Niles. There's the white Nile and the blue Nile. Nile is the river, and there was even a yellow Nile, but that has dried up. So they have all these rivers running into each other, and the land in between was like an elephant snout. Okay, the land in between, and that's why they call that area Khartoum, because the strip of land looked like it was like a strip of land, okay, on both sides with the river, and they consider it like a snout. I mean, the trunk of an elephant. So they named that place Khartoum. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expresses these expressions that Allah use is really a mockery. And that branding is like a curse. Okay? Because Khartoum is the snout of an animal. So Allah curse him, not bad words we speak about, by likening him to an animal face. And then Allah also said that this brand will be a distinguishing mark that will cause people, for as long as you live, to look at him in a funny way, or they laugh at him, or they disrespect him because of it. It is a daily reminder of what the Quran says about him, and how he carried about himself. And so they will not consider him as a big. He's still rich and everything, but they look down on him. For all his wealth, people just didn't consider him again. They look down, they laugh at him, and he became a mockery. Okay, he became a mockery. So that is Surah Ayat 15. Sorry, Ayat 15. So let us look at the 9 characteristics that Allah mentioned him. From verse 10. Okay, from verse 10 to verse 14. Anyway, yeah, Allah called him a halaf, somebody who is despicable. Somebody who is a dislikable person. Allah called him Mahin, someone who liked to insult people. He's not a good person. You like to insult, rude. Okay? He's Hamazin. He's a backbiter. Always finding faults with people. He's Masha bin Amim. He's somebody who runs about carrying slander and defamation of people. A slanderer. But he doesn't slander, he spreads it. Okay, Masha, he goes around on his feet, or by other means to spread it. It's enough evil to slander somebody. It's even more evil to spread it and encourage it to be spread. And he is amana'un lil khair, someone who prevents the good things, even good things, even for that will benefit him. Okay, so he self-destructs and he destroys others also. He's a mu'tad, he's a transgressor. He goes beyond the bounds. He opposes the truth, not just oppose the truth, but he's active in doing it. He might even hurt you, in order to hinder the truth. Okay, he might jail you to hinder the truth. To commit some sort of outrage against you. He's a atheme, a sinner. Not just a sinner, a violent sinner. He's excessive in his sins. Okay, he's excessive in his disbelief of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and going against the truth of Islam. And then he's utul. He's crude. Even the way he looks in his body, he's very crude. He looks, when you look at him, you're not pleased, and he's coarse in character. You know, he has a very put off character that, you know, it turns you off then. Okay, and then Allah say, Allah say, Bada Dhalik. And after all of that, okay, after all of that, he's Zanim. He was born out of wedlock that he didn't even know. He didn't know that he was the son of a shepherd and not the son of Al-Mughira, a rich, noble Quraysh. His origins were not noble, yet he looked down on the poor and the other people who did not have the pedigree, as they say, of being in that class of Arabs, you know, the top rankers. But Allah tell him, you are not no top ranker. Your mom, Allah didn't tell him all that, but Allah tell him that what he is. So he had to go and ask his mother, and his mother tell him she was surprised. So he said that Muhammad spoke the truth about me in eight of the things that he said about me. He said 9 things about me. 8 of them I know I am that. He said, you know, I am that way. He accept that. Look, I am like that. I am like that. But you see, number 9, Ba'da Dhalik, and on top of all of that, tell me what really went on. Give me the news. So give me the khabar. Give me the news. If you don't give me the news, I'll strike your neck. Means it's a euphemism for me now. I'll chop off your neck. I'll strike your neck. Tell his mother that. She got scared, of course, but she knew the kind of man he was. And she relayed the story of his birth. That he was the product of an encounter. She gave herself to a shepherd, an unknown shepherd. Gave herself to him, and Walid was the result of that. So, and Ibn Abbas said, you know, Allah never spoke about anybody else so disparagingly in this Quran but this man, Al-Walid. So he became the epitome of all the things negative. You know, you might have some people who don't like Islam, but they wouldn't insult you. They wouldn't prevent good. Maybe just don't like Muslims, whatever reasons. Right? Because some of them are sinners, but they wouldn't hinder Islam. But this man had all of the characteristics of those who oppose Islam. In these 8 characteristics, these 8 descriptions, opposition to Islam falls into one of them. Some people have 2 of them, some people have 3 of them, some people have 8 of them, some people have 4. You know, it varies. But the opposition to Islam will come in this fashion. So that brings us to the end of this class. And I will take any questions before we close off, inshallah.
Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum salam.
So with the revelation that he was a product of zina, did he lose his status?
Yeah, because they say people say we ridicule him. I mean, he still had the rank, he had the money and stuff, but people used to make fun of him. But I didn't get time to chase down. I was trying to find out what happened to him during the conquest of Mecca. What happened? Did he die before? This is tomorrow I will let you know, inshallah. Well, I couldn't find anything yet as it. You know what happened? Did he eventually become a Muslim? But I can't remember him becoming a Muslim. I just wanted to make sure. Yeah, so he had a status because a name, but people did not. You know, because it come like you get this. You know, Allah. expose you, because you understand them time they put a lot to that. They put a lot of emphasis on being, even though they were idol worshippers, do all kind of stuff. They put a lot of emphasis on having coming from proper parentage from marriage. It was part of their culture that was very strong. And they would even boast of it. I'm the son of so and so, and my mother didn't commit adultery to her. They used to boast, about that. We have sung so low. We even worse than these people. Some people, they are born into that, born like that. From a one night stand in a club when your mother was drunk and your father was drunk, or the person um who well your father, but then your mother can't remember who he is because she maybe had 2 or 3 men at the night. Born in a behind the backseat of a car. All these kind of different things. So, but these people, although they were Jahil and Mushrikeen and all these different kind of things, they still had some level of morality with them. Okay. Any other questions? So you can see how deep the world has dropped in terms of morality. People don't even care about them things again. Whether you are born out or in, or on top or under matrimony, it doesn't matter. You know? But in some traditional society, it still does matter. In some tribal society, you can't even lead anybody if you don't come from a proper boot. That's how deep it is. You'll forever remain like a, we hear the words bastard. Those words were powerful words in one period of our history. We call a bastard. Look at what happened to Shaka Zulu. He was called a bastard, and his mother was thrown out, and that pushed him to come back with a vengeance and conquer the Zulus and became their master and the king, and it was a rejected child. So let me check over that. I'm not sure if it was an ambassador, but he was rejected. Sorry, I take back that. I'll have to double check that one. I have a little doubt somewhere in your mind, say check that one. Inshallah. So yeah, so in many traditional society it still exists. Okay, so if no more questions, we end here. And I thank you for making yourself available.